Hey guys, it's Evan. I'm going through a lot right now. I'm using a Cheez-Its box for my mouse, but I usually don't do this. Usually I vlog from up there. I feel like it sounds horrible when I say it, but I'm just over it. Like, technically, if I told people I'm throwing away evidence, technically it's not destruction or obstruction of evidence. And either way, it's destruction and obstruction of evidence in my own case anyway, so it's me. I don't know. I just thank God that, like, I really think things through. Maybe not in the way that everybody else does, but I do. So, like, I imagine with my particular case, I feel like, I don't know, I'm just super blessed. I know that I am. I may not know a lot, but I know that for sure. Like, I just feel like, as awful and horrible as this entire experience has been since my initial workplace injury in November, I think, like, yes, I've suffered a lot in a way that no one should ever suffer, but also, I just feel like, how do I explain? I just feel like time and time again, I I've like filled every slot. Like if I am thinking like a locksmith or thinking about a vault, now I feel like Sincere from Love Island with these analogies, but I feel like Kanye says I needed time with my own thoughts. I couldn't open up my own vault. And I think that is kind of like the mindset. Like I couldn't unravel where I was snagged, like what hung me up, what was holding me back. And now that I look at things, like I'm able to, I suppose I've opened up myself. I opened up I was the vault that was locking myself away and keeping myself locked, and nobody could crack the vault open. I watched this super old vintage documentary about heists, and I can't remember. I think it was in Italy or where the heist took place, but they called them the sewer rats, the robbers. But I can relate to like the bank. The bank called. It was a very highly trusted bank, and everybody trusted this bank for like I want to say it was over a century or something like that. But anyways, it was a very highly regarded bank, and people were outside wanting their money, and finally the manager of the bank had to make the call and call the locksmith to come see what was going on. That's kind of how I feel. Like I feel like I worked for this large corporation that was had this highly regarded, respectful, or wealthy reputation, right? And then at some point, somebody had to make the call to bring in the locksmith, and the locksmith kept trying and trying and trying. They did everything they could to. They said that the vault would often get like lodged in, so that was like a common thing that it would lock in, and that was common. They had to like jimmy it, or you know to, or like yeah, I guess how you say it. You know, I guess some people say like jimmy rig it, or like they just had to jimmy it to pull it open. But then finally they had to knock down the side of the vault, and that's kind of like how I feel. Like a part of me was entirely wiped out. They made a hole, like they basically obliterated a side of the wall just to see what is holding the door, like what is behind the door that is not letting us in. So when they opened up the side wall, they looked in and they realized the entire vault had been robbed. And the robbers spent, I think, nearly a year, months, round the clock through sewage and sewers, tunnel systems, building their way into the bank. And that's like me right now looking back. And I mean, look at the reality of my life. Like, that's a lot of papers, and that's nothing compared to what I've originally had, and that's nothing compared to the files and the photos that are on my computer or laptop. Mind you, my laptop, my corporate laptop, was left in West Columbia, Texas, and the West Columbia Police Department refused to file a police report for my lost devices. So I did tell the company though. I did tell Tesla that, and I don't know. I don't. I just feel like what I'm saying is, I feel like finally I've locked into those slots because I see how time and time again God has revealed to me that He's not letting me go. And He has never left me, He will never leave me. And I say this because, like, I don't know how to really, maybe I haven't fully processed it, but how I explain, how do I explain that in those moments, like when I just got so tired of seeing these vehicles leave in the parking lot like that. I mean, I took a picture, right? And without that picture, I don't think without those photos, I don't think I would have gotten by. And I knew that I wasn't supposed to take photos, but I took it anyway because I was tired and I knew it was wrong. People were dying. People were having accidents not even 5 miles down the road. And then I had my accident, and that's when I drew the line. So I'm just like, how do I explain? It's like things were so heavy, and I took that picture, and it's like God pulled me out of that environment. And once again, things got very heavy when I was at the homeless shelter. And time again, God pulled me out of those situations. And not only did He pull me out of those situations, but He strengthened me. He built me up, and He's still building me up to be a stronger and better man every day. And even in this video, my vlog has gone down 3.3K views, and I can't. I mean, maybe because I haven't been posting. I've been posting more lives than I have snips. Usually, I post up more shorts and snippets than I have lately. So I just feel safer posting lives, and so yet again, like even leaving the shelter, God took me out. I was at this guy named Daniel's house, 423 Magnolia Lane or whatever, in LJ, and there was a lot of phony business going on there. Like, but I was homeless. Like, I was so broken and torn down. I haven't. I. I mean, like even now, I feel like I still don't really know things. Like, I know that I love fruity pebbles in the mornings, and I know that I love pozole and chicharron, but I feel like I still don't really know. Like, I don't. I see these photos of me before my accident, and I see how it was big and beefy, but I don't know what that guy used to love to eat. I don't know his favorite foods. Uh, Mr. Mr. Damon asked me, and I like chicken and waffles, but that's me now. But I feel like I don't know what this guy. What were his favorite foods? What did he do? I see photos of him fishing, and I'm like, I don't do that. I mean, I love horses, like, and I'm allergic to them, but I like messing with grass, and I don't think that guy ever knew how to do grass at all, cut grass, or do any of that. So I just see like how God has. I went to Redemption Church in the men's retreat, and I felt so much sentiment there. And my thing is, so right now I'm making a video vlog of. We're gonna get to it, but I feel like I should share that I'm just like, look at how God has prepared me because I took a course in DNA forensic analysis, extracting DNA, and had I not taken that course prior to what transpired after in a legal way, I don't think I would have, I don't think I would be making so much way in my case. And I think that there's just like, it's almost like from what I see and from what I know, I think there's so much. I mean, I can only speak about what I've learned in that course and what I have learned since taking that course. But from everything that I have seen, and not so much with cold cases or well, I shouldn't say that. No, I should say that. It's not so much with cold cases or even missing person cases as it is so much with, I suppose people would call them white collar crimes. Because I think that maybe in white collar crimes it's more evident, maybe it's more, how do you say, maybe it's a little bit more organized to understand why the crimes are being committed. But even when there's poverty, I feel like you can't, it's not that you can't or that law enforcement can't. I don't think that it's very organized and structured in a case where there's homicide with poor people or missing children in poor environments. I think the narrative is like, well, that's the way it is. It just happens, as opposed to when there's billions of dollars involved, corporations involved. There's like paper trails, and you can see like, okay, well, this person wired over this much money to this person. Why? That's motive. And then you're in honky tonk podunk middle of nowhere bum, you know what, Egypt, and then you could just see like lying around the crime scene, you know, snacks, Cheetos, Cheeto dust, and there was a cat named Cheeto at the homeless shelter. He died. It's all Scooter's fault. Anyways, stay on track. But they would see Cheeto dust and just kind of like let it stay cold. You know, they just can't really see it out. And with forensic DNA analysis, from what I've learned, it takes a very, very, I don't want to say a very calculated way to analyze a crime scene, but it's kind of like you have to build your observations based on your identity is what I've learned because if you can't accept your identity, then when you stumble across these crime scenes, it's not going to come full. It's not going to come together for you. And I think that that's unique in the sense that a lot of these law enforcement or even like police detectives and people in the system in the justice system right now they don't have that that understanding or that insight or even that foresight. I think there's a lot of complacency still where technology outpaces those systems. And I think as a forensic DNA analyst, me, from what I've seen and what I've learned, is there's so much outdated systems. Mind you, I already knew that coming into with my own case, let alone Like for instance, now I have to look for a entry level writing job, and I'm highly skilled. I can get a job in just about anything, but people don't want to pay me anything, and so they don't even want to pay me in Skittles, and so I'm just like I'm over it. So like when I started to see, okay, well, as a forensic analyst, where can I get a job? And I started looking at the state of Texas and their policies and what you need. And it's pretty cool because the forensic state board and stuff like that, like they make a way for veterans at no charge to become a forensic analyst, which is cool. I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. But I mean, it's helpful to me. This wire's in the way. So I thought that that was great. It's definitely a huge benefit to me. But what I didn't like was, you know, they have like these. I don't want to say strict because they're not strict standards, but they have these old school standards of like, in order to be an analyst, in order to be this job forensically, you need to work in a lab that meets these standards. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like this is exactly why crimes are not solved in a fast, because you have this stupid rule saying, oh, if you had to be working in a lab. Like for me, where there is conflict and problems and solutions, for me, I don't see that crap. I don't see conflict, problem, solutions. I I that's the problem with me is like I have felt so much shame for not viewing my life the way everybody else does, and or falling or conform to structure. And I feel like now I'm really breaking free from that. But ultimately, it's like where these people in the world, in the structures, that the majority of the structures of where like people conform to, they're laid out that way. They're laid out to, and some people do need crap Barney down for them. But me, I think when you're a child that grew up the way that I grew up, and then as a young adult, I grew up the way that I grew up, not to kiss booty, and then now I realize, when I built my career, when I gained my career, when I made sacrifices for my career, and I came out of that, I realized like all I've ever known and seen is to create and innovate. So when there are things like that that kind of push me back, I just see innovation. And when I can imagine if I go to a crime scene, I'm not going to see. I mean, obviously it's going to be horrendous, depending, but I will not see that. I and then maybe that's why I took the course, because I know how my mind works, and I know that I see innovation everywhere. Like I don't understand why people use cups with juice jugs, because you're just wasting a cup. Like I don't know. Like my mind doesn't work like everybody else's. I want to innovate. I want to create things. I want to design things. I want to draw things. I want to build things. And I feel like this whole crap with Nancy Guthrie is the perfect example. And especially being in that type of temperature, they say the best disinfectant is the sun. So in that type of temperature, when someone goes missing, Mother Nature's already has the upper hand and is already destroying all of that evidence. So why not innovate and create a way for any forensic, anybody in the field to, I mean, in the military, we would set up talks. We would set up operations, tents. And I see that, yes, they set up tents, but they only set up tents for their own crap. Like, just, you know, and even to, like, cover up the bodies. Like, it's like, okay, like, if there was, like, a mobile lab, like, that arrived to every crime scene, you can start extracting and analyzing DNA off the bat. And it's like, why do people think, I know the thing is going to be like, well, that's a waste. No, it's not a waste because any DNA, the more DNA that's put into these systems, helps solve other crimes. I mean, the problem should be that there's too much DNA being extracted and not enough DNA put into the system. And so, with that being said, with that's just how my mind works, and with what I've seen, I've been watching a lot of missing cold cases, and I don't think so much cold cases are I'm drawn to them as so much missing cases or missing cold cases. But I think I have like a pretty. It's just how my mind works. That I think that when it comes to these cases where I see people missing, I really do see. For me, it's very clear why these cases have not gone far, and a lot of it, from what I've seen, I'm like, why don't they do a data pool? Like, if you were to pool all of the hard drives, and that's probably what needs to be done modern day. I think that modern day they should pool all of the data from all these old law enforcement agencies, like all of the. If Donald Trump's pulling all the voting, whatever, why not go to these old police stations and they need to be audited, not just financially, not just a forensic financial audit of the police departments or even of these federal agencies. You know, go to these federal agencies' offices, go to the law enforcement offices, audit their. There should be an audit. There should be a list, like an itemized list of all of their IT software. If it's a headset, a mouse, if it's a chip, like there should be this police department has one computer and extract all of that information because like all of that data and information if it's not looked at or reviewed, I guarantee you if you pull data like in the case of Gregory Keith Mann, if there was an audit on all of their systems, their softwares, and who had work cell phones at the time, their numbers, if they were to check back in Wichita Falls Police Department when Gregory Keith Mann went missing, if they were to look, well, the police station had four computers, four keyboards, four mouses, and there were four work phones. Whose phones? Which detective? Four work phones. Which detectives? Okay, so then extract that information, see how much of that data was used on Gregory's case. And if no data was used, that's a huge red flag. And think about like all the data that was used. They don't extract that information. I mean, there's only so much you can do when like even somebody like me, there's only so much if I wanted to put my time and energy, there's only so much that I can do. Like I can sit here, I can look people up, cool, but even then it's not as easy as these movies make it seem. But I think for me, missing person cases not only are they like something that I feel kind of resolves, my trauma, but I also feel that with missing person cases, it's just I think how my mind works that I'm able to when I go up to something architecturally, I can see the entire design in my mind. I can see the width, the frame, the wires. That's just how my mind works. So, and also I'm very like I know a lot about cars, and that's kind of and also with my own personal trauma, um, that's kind of like where like not many people are. This is the best way I can put it. Then I'll start getting to the papers. But the best way I heard it placed was I think it was a preview. I haven't seen the full documentary, but there was a group of scientists that reconstructed the excuse me, the dirt track, and I used to drive by that track every day at work when I was in upstate New York. And I always wanted to make a like I always wanted to visit. I always wanted to go there. I drove by it. It was always to my right side. Like I can see the racetrack. I would be driving back to Rochester, and I saw the racetrack, and I'm like, man, I really want to go there one day, but I never made it. So, but I didn't even know that this had ever happened. But Tony Stewart killed a kid, and he was a young driver, and a group of scientists reconstructed the racetrack and proved how that happened. And in those snippets, they said there are not many people, and the scientists they said that there are not there just aren't any people in the field that have the mechanical knowledge of vehicles and are are very studious in forensic crimes. And for me, I feel like because I experienced crimes through a, a vehicular or a manufacturer, you know, AI company, because I live it now, but because I have constantly battled that daily and daily since 2022, and not only that, but I experience those those tactics and those methods from square one, the recruiting, the grooming, the recruiting people, and how that works, and even the designs of the vehicles from the very beginning to the latest models. My hands touched every portion of those vehicles. And also just, the clientele, the people that would buy these cars, those interactions, how far people would go. One guy, he was always complaining, and he would be on the phone with Tesla customer service, and you know, I felt what he felt, and you know, he was just super thankful that I was still, even though they were giving him a hard time about the repair, I still made the repair. Mind you, I didn't even have. I was innovative in that moment, and I repaired it, and I remember repairing it with paint tape because I had to use something very, very delicate, you know, obviously safely and delicately for this repair. And even once at the Gigafactory, didn't have the most modern pin to put into uh, the front of a vehicle, but I had one. It was an old, outdated blue one, but I still popped it in and it worked. So my mind is just very, very innovative, and that's probably why I thrive so much in engine building. Because with engine building, no matter how much you machine, the clearance is never enough. The engine's never fast enough. You just want to build by hand a machine that goes faster and makes the most explosions. And there's a saying in the race world: the engine with the most explosions wins the race. And you have to have that explosive mindset. Like, what is mechanically, how kinetic energy and that friction, how much power is going to drive mechanical force, right? And that's how I view my life. You can't be afraid to have this explosive mindset of, like, especially with engine building and rocket ship building. I mean, throttle. That's why they call it full throttle. And comprehending that even the guy that built VP, he built VP fuel. And I think the story goes, a lot of people in San Antonio use VP fuel. A lot of people on the dirt track, ATV, they use a lot of VP products. But I think the story goes, he was just in his mom and pop's basement and treated like crap. And he said, no, I know that I'm onto something here. And he built the he made the fuel in his mom and dad's garage, but now everybody uses VP fuel. And even like with jet fuel, like how that feeling of jet fuel and understanding like, wow, this is what propels to that force of getting to zero gravity and Mach speeds. And people don't have that mindset. Their mind's so clogged, it doesn't go past Lego blocks. And even so many times, there are people in the race world, or even exotics, that they doubt machining and engine building, and they think, well, that's just a Mustang. Yeah, it's cool. It's American hot rod. It's a Mustang, but here I have this Bugatti, and I always think about Mr. Ferrari. Mr. Ferrari, I couldn't. I mean, I would probably be one of Mr. Ferrari's good employees, but I think even to Mr. Ferrari standards, I probably would be like at a 90%, not at 100. He absolutely did not want any of his line members, any of his employees, to use anything other than their hands. Imagine like shaving down that aluminum or those steel parts just by hand. And obviously Ford comes in and just puts him in his place because Mr. Ferrari had never, his mind wasn't like I'm explaining. His mind never imploded. It never knew explosion. His mind never knew that mechanical aspect of a full throttle engine. He knew the design. I mean, traditionally he knew the design, but like I'm saying, the kinetic, the friction that brings that thermal event, Ford understood this because in America, what did everybody back then do? One, they bought these cars on credit. Two, they would always come into mom and pops, oil shops, brakes went out because people really didn't know how to drive the cars. First thing that would fry would be brakes. So Ford in the Le Mans or Ford in these races, he put Mr. Ferrari in his place because they knew the American way of using these dailies. And Ferrari at the time was so luxurious that these were not like daily cars. I mean, to daily, I'm sure to him and to maybe his crew, but not to everyone. And so with Ford, with knowing, okay, where are things being wiped out in the race? Like where down the line? And that's when they came up with the tactic. Like obviously, the engine is they maxed out. They're just losing their minds. Like we got this engine maxed out. It's booming, but we're still not cutting it. And so Ford came up with this tactic. He was understanding like the friction and the tactic and what was hanging him up. And so he was like, what if we do a brake change in the middle of the race? And they're like, dude, are you nuts? He's like, no, because if we replace the brakes, we're doing one, something nobody else is doing. And two, I mean, we're good. It's going to give us that extra, like me, I replaced my air filter, but everything was stock. That replacement of that one air filter to a K&N air filter gave me probably 1 horsepower. But that 1 horsepower, like that's probably what it was for him, was replacing these boosts. These brakes only gave him like a little bit of boost, but that little bit of boost would get you a long way down the line. So Mr. Ferrari just lost his mind when he saw them switch the brakes in the middle of the race. He just lost his mind, and they made a big deal about it. And Ford was like, "It's not in the book." Like it's nowhere in against regulations of the race. It's nowhere in the book saying that we cannot replace our brakes. So that's kind of like, I guess that's just, the American way. And the American way won at the end of the day. So I just feel like I have that mechanical understanding of how things work in a way that when I see things, especially missing cases, I go back to that point of like there was this one case that I saw, Lena something, and she was with the little boys and walked off and was never seen again. But my thing is, there's that always that understanding that that's why I don't get why people leave their kids walking around the neighborhood or walking around. I was at when I was living in La Centera, they just let their kids run around and they had cameras and cool, but all it takes is one split second for somebody to come off the streets to take those kids. And if you think I'm high and mighty and I'm gonna find them like Liam Neeson, then you're just dumb. You know, these people they operate. I worked for a company that operates in such a way that many people will never understand, and that's similar to how these traffickers operate. You know, it's not as intricate of a system as you think it is. These people are out to get, and they'll snatch anyone. You know, even a Nancy, a old lady, they'll snatch anyone, and they're on to the next. You know, they don't think the way most people think. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of explain how I see things, and hopefully it helps people. Like hopefully this helps me. I mean, I know it's gonna help me. Like I should probably get started, but like this is a Looney Tunes book. I found this in a thrift store in I think it's in between West Columbia and LJ. I don't think I was in Sweeney. I could be wrong. I don't think I was. I was closer to the grocery store. I'm just probably gonna put this underneath here so that my fan doesn't burn. Usually my laptop fan burns and burns and burns. It's not the greatest laptop. This is an old book my mom bought me, so okay. This says Epson Event Manager software in computer. Whatever that means. It says RX report Congressman Troy Nils for sexual harassment, which I never did, but I should. In the workplace. Library documents, food stamps, banks, whoever this is. Oh, Jam, ENT, Monday, December 22nd at 9 a.m. For some reason, I have this. Why I was going to report Congressman Troy Nils for sexual harassment in the workplace. I never got a chance to. Doesn't surprise me, but he was. He looked at some woman's butt on camera. He was checking her out on camera. And this is all on the live feed, the Congress live feed. He's doing this. And there's a lady with the baby. He paid no attention to the lady with the baby, but then there was a lady dressed in all black. She kind of a little bit turns towards where the lady with the baby is, and then he just checks her out because he's sick. But that's a whole other story for maybe another time now. But uh, you know, the first page here. You know what's funny is I ended up in a being roommates and in a room where with this guy named Hector something. I can't remember his name. Hector, not my stepdad, but Hector, whatever. And Hector said he spent time with Congressman Troy Nils' boyfriend in jail. And I said, you know, to myself, I was like, you know, he said, I wonder how a veteran like you could end up with a man like me, and we could be roommates. You know, because Hector's super criminal, and this guy said he was on the no-flight list, and he's just a super criminal person. I pray for him, but I was like, look at God, how God is working right now, you know. And Hector said that Congressman Troy Nils put him in jail for personal reasons. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just feel like the man that Congressman Troy Nils put in jail is roommates with the man that can put him in jail. I can put Congressman Troy Nils in jail, or you know what I mean. So like, I was like, look at God, like look at God revealing to me the reality, and the reality that I'm talking to this man about God and healing, and and hopefully that, and that all comes full circle. And I know in some way it is, and it's all coming together. It may not come together in the way and in the moment that I want, but it comes together eventually. My grandma Julia said when she was growing up, they would say 1 out of 100 people in research, and now they say 1 out of 5. My grandma Julia, she worked in the mental health department for, I think she's retired or still works for Blue Cross, I think in Milwaukee. She was just that's where she worked her whole life, in that department. Whistleblower disclosure hotline. The number. This is my log about the horses. I put Flash and Diego kept playing, and Jerry wanted attention. Jerry just started playing by himself. After Corn whipped, they all came around Jerry, and Jerry was the middle center. Kept, I don't know if this is kept shaking. Jerry out of the. Oh, I think he was trying to move Jerry out the way. Jerry was twitching and clicking sounds. Jerry, Flash, Diego, maybe Biscuit, I don't know. Tesla Star. This has the initial recruiters that reached out to me: Stav, S-T-A-V, Nav, Nave, and Charles Posner, Charles Posner. When they reached out to me was October 25th, 2021. I don't know, something like this. I'm sure they got paid. They get paid for each person they recruit. I don't know, apparently these are some of like my Apple passwords or something like that. I don't know. Probably shouldn't have shown that over. My stocks. Take notes. Get my money. So there's this workers' comp paper now, this new one, that says that injured employees can't demand anything. And my thing is like, first of all, these are not demands. These are rights. These are actual federal laws that corporations. So when you go through that process, it should be like known that there are no demands being made. And even so, actually, everybody's entitled to demand things in the world, and especially in America. That's what makes America America. So I feel like the reality is that people need to start sticking to the facts and not to fiction. and this is my life at the end of the day. But I have to reduce myself to doing this when I don't see the president doing any of this. This is some of my DNA notes, phenotyping, CODIS, extractions, upload, 24 hours, genealogy, family tree. These are all my DNA notes from my class. And that one flew off. Conclusion. Okay, what is that? I don't know why I wrote Francesca, probably somebody to talk to. Oh yeah, one of these had numbers, these are people, these are numbers, like, these are actual numbers, like, this is the reality of my life. And at the time of my accident, from what I remember, and I was at the homeless shelter, Zurich was evaluated at $75 billion to the public. So this is the reality of my life. I'm tired of this crap. Passwords. This is dates. Pages. That's it. That's notes that I'll be throwing away. Oh yeah. Oh wait, this receipt. This receipt is for $34.18. No idea what that is. What that means. I'm just throwing this stuff away. This is a receipt for $25. This is a sale. West Columbia, Texas. I think it's for gas. 180 Freeman Boulevard. This $62. This might be for BBJ LLC. 6832-282-7668. That's probably not the thing with the tablets at the largest. This is a UPS receipt. UPS store 7613 810 North Dixie Street, Suite 1, Clute, Texas 979-266-9045, in the amount of $86.76. So that's to show you the money that I spent to send things to Federal Plaza, New York, the international courts, and to Austin, Texas Western District Courts. I've had this since, this was a Hallmark thing I got in LJ. Just, it's a calendar. Wait. I made this, I thought it was nice. There's my name on it. I might keep it. I really shouldn't. Maybe I'll put a photo of me in it. Employee. This has a lot of my sensitive information on it. It has my social on it. Let's see if I can forward it to where I don't show you that. Yeah, I'll try to show you so it doesn't show you this. Let's try to see if I can't really hide the rest. I can try to hide my social ones. I probably shouldn't put this out there because it has the Tesla phone number. See if I can cover that. I just want to show you guys that this is no joke. This is my life. The crap that I go through. I'm so sick of it. They did it to the wrong one. I'm not Katie Johnson. I pray for her. What Donald Trump did to her as a 13-year-old girl, telling her to put on gloves to rub his wee-wee. That's awful. You know, but I'm a man that this is not gonna fly anymore. This is Tesla Energy Corporate. I don't care about showing it. Well, one thing I learned in my genetic class that once it's in the trash, it's free game. So I hope these people do the right thing. CW Asian Cafe. I should have wrote them up because they were having little kids do work in there. But I didn't care to. You know, I got bigger fish to fry. But the receipt is for $23.22. I don't know, maybe I do care now. I'll hold on to that. This is all the E-Trade stuff. And one of the cases I'm working on. And a lot of this stuff is closed door. I think this is my passport cards. What is this? Actually, it might be some of my digital art. Oh, it is some of my digital art. Cool. Christmas is coming around. So, and Thanksgiving. So, I might find these little frames, frame these, and give them for gifts or something. It's my digital art. Keep that. So, I don't know, I just really, it's not that I don't care, I do care. That was one of the books I bought. These are transfers for shirts. This is the instructions. That's the reason I kept this. These post-its, I don't know, they're all soggy wet. Throw them away. This is my sister. This stuff might mean something to somebody. Sketchbook. This is a receipt for $28.53 from Target. I'll tell you, all this money, man, I'm getting my money back. This is the folding locker. These are the manuals. I hang on to the manuals in the case of anything. The Toastmaster, I don't know what happened to it. I think my mom has it. These are all software manuals. One, they're good to read when you're on the crap. think I might have to get rid of this. I don't know. I might just have to wipe everything down. I think getting rid of this stuff is gonna help. I sprayed for bed bugs, and not that there are any, but and it literally said like to spray in the crevices. And this is proof of when I was at the homeless shelter, so I'll make sure nothing is super sensitive. That's proof I was at the homeless shelter. What did I say? Oh, yep. So the spray, it was all natural spray that I found at Home Depot. And my sister likes to keep things all natural, and I don't know why, because right now is not the time to be all natural anything. And especially with hantavirus and all these diseases and viruses, I feel like I believe religiously in bleach. I think that there are ways to dilute bleach, even though maybe you shouldn't dilute it as much. I think you should do like usually common is like 1:1 ratio. I don't know, but I feel like it's just not the time to be doing that. So, anyways, it says what to do. It says do not spray on your bedding. Like spray only on the parts, the mat, not, or you can use it on the mattress, but like you're supposed to use it like internally in the bed frame and on the bedding of the box, the this box thing, and you can use it on crevices and corners. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't. I literally did it this way because I didn't want to stench up the room. So I was like, well, I'll just do the corners. Oh my gosh, this stuff is super powerful. This is the Bureau of Vital Statistics. So I don't have my birth certificate. The passport agency has it. This is trash. This was a lot of like correction tape, and I was like, I could use it. I really could use this correction tape, but now it's just a waste. We'll keep it because it's like when you make a oopsie daisy, you gotta use this tape. I'm over I just like to be prepared. So this is how much I've already decided to my company. I put quite a good amount. So this was my plan for my business, which is called the White Key. I my my ask was 900 billion USD, and this was Friday, December 20th, 2024. This was my revised draft. Assets, RA, legal comp, tax, trust, compliance, philanthropy, office tithing and grants, tech, cybersecurity tools, personal development. I mean, I have to include personal development in my plan. I got to spend money on myself. I got to invest in myself first. I need my mental health, my charms, my eyes, my everything, and my education. Of course, I need money for my education, life, and legacy and estate. And this is just for 1 quarter. But anyways, oh, QOL, quality of life. I'm just kidding. But this is what I put for. So for investment strategy, 120 billion. For financial advisors, 90 billion. For my risk assessment, 70 billion. For tax planning, 60 billion. For legal structure, 50 billion. For regulatory compliance, 50 billion. For charitable foundations, 70 billion. Included in that is donation and grants, digital security, 70 billion, financial software, 60 billion, education, 70. And I feel like with the digital security, I think like I should kind of fix that because I feel like with my security budget, and maybe that's why it's categorized it this way, but I feel like I need physical security too. Considering what I've been through, I definitely need physical security. Mm, so digital security 70 billion, financial software 60 billion, education 70 billion, networking 50 billion, estate planning 40 billion, lifestyle maintenance 50 billion, and union 40 billion. I think that, I want to put money and make it work. Like, I want to put money into these, financial advisors risk assessment. Like, I want, if I have a corporation, I definitely want it structured in such a way where, like, I don't know everything. And I work for a man that talks like he knows everything on planet Earth and on other planets. I really do not know everything. And I think to have risk assessment teams or financial teams and have that money flow and then navigate in that way to inform me and let me know, like, not just trends, not just algorithms, not just, but let me know, like, hey, this is a risk. This is a financial risk to the company. This is a financial risk for me as an employee. So I think having spending that money and building teams and people up in such a way where they can actually say, like, Mr. Mendez, this is a financial risk to me as an employee, and I just hear them out, like, hear their concerns, like, where do you see, or what is, how, explain, and then let's innovate a solution. And I think that that's why I put somewhere. I put regulatory compliance, yes, legal structure. Oh, investment strategy. I think that falls under investment strategy, like the innovation, the creation, and so that was actually where I put the highest, was 120 billion, because I feel like you have to really develop and plan for somebody. Which I've already taken the Boots to Business course, so I think I'd be okay. But anyways, this is how I laid everything out. I've been accused of the craziest things. This one guy, Paul Kelly, he accused me of extorting Elon Musk, and it's just a blank paper. He was hired for Zurich American Insurance Company, so I don't know why he feels the need to say that. You could put this in one of the binders. This is my medical information. Oops. I'm gonna turn it over. This is a notebook. Hardly a notebook, so pages are torn out. That was my room number at the shelter. This was my case. Oops, definitely done this way. This is where I sent to the International Trade Court. I sent all the financial papers to them. I hope they freaking made copies and scanned it. I mean, look at how many people are involved in this. It's unreal. Title 28 Federal Rules of Evidence. I think that's pretty good to talk about in this whatever I'm doing live. So Title 28 Federal Rules of Evidence, Article 6. Oh, sorry. Rule 611. The foregoing considerations. This is the consideration of economy of time and energy. The wide open rule. So the wide open rule presents little or no opportunity for dispute in its application. Scope of the direct. Finch versus Weiner, 109, Con, which is Connecticut, 616, Con, 1929, 145A, 31. These are just sections. And it says decided March 2nd, 1929, May 24th. So, yep, this is just maybe a rule that regarding evidence. Have you ever noticed how much we like the same things? I wonder when you realize how much you love it. Ever notice how some people make you feel all warm and snugly inside? That's David. David's really, really informative. I like watching David on YouTube. think a very, 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 very long time ago when I started my self care journey, David was probably the first like influencers in the world of NLP that because for so long, so many people in NLP, they just a lot of those people they're just like really sociology, like into sociology and stuff, and I think that they undermine NLP in the technological realm, and I think that NLP is a huge part of the technological world. I don't think the technological world can connect with people if NLP wasn't a, a core part of that. Like there is a form of desire for sexuality enhancements, and like think about there's AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends now, and AI wives, and I think before well, most of this stuff, I think there's a movie about it. I think it's called The Stepford Wives. I could be wrong, but there's a movie where like there are all these wives and they're robots, or like the what is that movie, Return to Mars or something like that, with the aliens that take over the White House. So, and I think that in coding, NLP is definitely a huge thing, and I think that just that realm of things really doesn't, like I said, technology is advanced to the point where so many disciplines and professions they just can't comprehend. So when I started really myself care, I came across David on I'm a YouTuber. I like to watch YouTube a lot, so I came across David, and I was like, wow, like this is super helpful to me, and I think just with not just what I was going through, but with really connecting my experience with technology, and I think I can't say enough about that. It really helped me. This is just my E-Trade, my bank passwords, my mental health care provider, going back to school, what I wrote to Alex Romo. This is what I wrote to the NLRB. To Alex Romo, thank you for the amendment. See, this is where I use that tape and I just threw it. And sometimes you make it. Oops. Just many pages. I think. Let's see if I can pages. This is where I lived. I think this is important. I'm just going to throw this one away. Okay, I'll throw that away. I might have to cut a break because I gotta use the restroom. I found this file at the shelter. I definitely want to throw this away. And so I just scratched it out and put my name. Hey, when you're homeless, you do what you gotta do. This is what I had to do for FEMA. I had to print my Airbnb receipts, organize my receipts, my shopping, my food receipts, hotels, B&B, bank statements, place in the binder. Like, that's what I had to do for FEMA. So I'm probably gonna definitely throw that away. This is my license. This is my business license. These are Target receipts and Dollar General receipts. This one's for $11.37. Target receipts. this is for my business. I was trying to look at like what I grabbed these for was because I wanted to grab like a general idea of what everybody around was selling their houses for. It's called market research. This is another Dollar General receipt for $20.03. $20.03. I like that white. This is a Sharon Williams receipt. $53.40. Danny was my. I paid with $100 bill. I paid $100 bill with 7 cents. This is another receipt. I paused this the other day and now I don't know how to pause it. Okay, I'm gonna have to end this stream because I have to use the restroom and wash my hands. I'll be back.